Hey, Jonathan Peters here. Let's talk about game design and gamification. Game designers have an advantage that we don't have, and that is that they can create games for a select group of people, and there'll be a lot of people who don't like those games, and that's fine, right? Tons of people liked Candy Crush, but not everybody. We, as designers, need to focus on specific audiences, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But there's some things that we can take away from game design and apply it into our design, into learning design. And first of all, it's that concept of play. So there's different types of entertainment out there. Games are one of those. But where games are different from, say, TV and movies is that games are active versus when we watch TV, when we watch movies, we just sit on our butts and the directors take us on a journey. We're not involved in the journey. We go with where they go. So as a form of thinking about our learning programs, instead of passive learning like watching a movie, which is traditionally how we do it, we have facilitators, instructor-led training, we have e-learning, and so on. We're not that actively involved. We sit back, listen to lecture, read text, and so on. Versus games, now we become involved. We're active. We decide how quickly we move. We decide the material we consume, and so on. So the first thing that I want to talk about when it comes to game design is the concept of the magic circle. The magic circle. Before I discovered where it came from, I used to refer to it as the enchanted door. But the magic circle comes from this guy, Johann Huizinga, in his book Homo Ludens. I do not recommend you read this book. It's very extremely academic from the 1930s. What Huizinga argued is that culture and play go together. You cannot have culture without play. And it's this exhaustive study, goes all through history, looking at how play has been a part of culture up to the Industrial Revolution, which is where he was writing from. And his fear is that we were losing play in our culture. That it was with the Industrial Revolution, humans were no longer playing; they were just going cogs in the larger wheel. So he, in passing, mentioned the magic circle, and the magic circle has become prominent in game design. The magic circle says that when we cross into the circle, think of going through an enchanted doorway, if once we cross into that magic circle, we accept the reality of the game. So out the window here, people are playing golf right now. When they go into the circle of golf, the game of golf, they accept, first of all, the rules of golf. In this case, they're all cheating because it's a par 3 over water, and so it's fun to watch them cheat. But there's certain rules that they accept. That the goal, for instance, is to get the ball in the hole in the fewest number of strokes. Well, the easiest way to do that is get your golf cart, drive over there to the green, walk on the green, drop it in the hole. No, there's certain rules. You have to take these sticks and drive them and swing this swing to get the ball in that distance. And so we accept that. It makes sense inside the magic circle. So part of the magic circle is the rules of gameplay. So games have rules that make sense inside the magic circle, don't make sense in real life. But those create the guardrails that they direct play into a certain direction. Same thing with gamification of learning. When we think of what are the rules of our game, because now that we're in the magic circle, they will accept those rules, and that governs play inside of our design. So it's important to not only have game mechanics, but what are the rules for the use of those game mechanics inside our gamified learning experience. So the other piece of play is challenge. So again, usually a typical learning program, there's not, the only challenge is that you got to get through the material, you got to pass the quiz or whatever the case may be. But in games, the challenge gets increasingly more difficult. It's easy in the beginning when you're onboarding, as we talked about before. It's easy in the beginning, and then the challenge moves up and it becomes more and more challenging. So think of tic-tac-toe. Not that challenging. It's a relatively easy game. Once you figure it out, it ceases to be fun. And so versus other games where the challenge is significant. So for instance, I was just mentioning golf. There's a lot of challenge there, and people play often, and they're always struggling to do better. Some days it's windy, some days it's not, some days it's hot, some days it's cold. So there's lots of different challenges that come into play. If it were easy, why would they play day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, if it were easy? So same thing in our learning programs. When we're gamifying, it's not to make it that easy, it's to create challenge. We'll talk about the concept of flow in future modules here, but we want to continue to increase the challenges inside of our system. It's not just about points and badges. What else can we do to create a challenge inside of our learning programs? And then the other final piece that I'd like to mention here is really the risk-reward piece of gameplay, and then that we can bring into our gamified learning is, so of course we want to reward behaviors and reward the learner as we're going through, but also to add that risk, because a reward without risk loses its excitement, loses its fun over time. So yes, it's fun to get stuff, but that only motivates for so long. We need to have a trade-off between the risks and the reward. If I, as a learner, take this risk, will I gain a reward for that extra activity, that side quest, that Easter egg that I found, and so on? So where are those risk reward? What is that balance inside of our learning? So again, it's not just about throwing game mechanics at a learning program, but it's thinking from a game designer's perspective. Can we have the risk reward? Can we have challenges? What should our rules be? What will be inside the magic circle once the learner steps into the magic circle? So just some thoughts here from game design, and as you're thinking about your own learning programs and your own design, can you add these aspects of game development?